Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiriya. Nashtaprayeshu Vadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtaki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 5, Karma Yoga, Action, Krishna Consciousness. Text 22. So last text, Krishna says, such a liberated person is not attracted to material sense pleasure, but is always in trance, enjoying the pleasure within. In this way, the self-realized person enjoys unlimited happiness, for he concentrates on the Supreme. So that is where the real happiness is. And what do we get into is text 22. Yehi sansparshaja bhoga dukkhyo na evate adi antavanta konteya na teshu ramate vudha. An intelligent person does not take part in the sources of misery, which are due to contact with the material senses. O son of Kunti, such pleasures have a beginning and an end, and so the wise man does not delight in them. Adi Antavanta means any pleasure in the material world, coming in contact with the material senses, it has a beginning and has an end. And that's happening everywhere. It's everywhere. Material sense pleasures are due to the contact of the material senses, which are all temporary because the body itself is temporary. A liberated soul is not interested in anything which is temporary. Knowing well the joys of transcendental pleasure, how can a liberated soul agree to enjoy false pleasure? And actually, the illusion is so strong. Maya is what Krishna has created, so strong. We think this is what life is all about. Just to eat, drink, and be merry in material. Well, this is what Bhagavad Gita teaches. And this is all temporary. A liberated person, self-realized soul, he doesn't go for all this. And this is true for every living entity, not just for human beings, every living entity. They don't, lower than human beings, they cannot understand all this. Fine. But it's true for every human being. And that is why Bhagavad Gita or any other Vedic scripture is not just for Hindus. I mean, doesn't the Christian, they also go for this material sense pleasure? Hindus also, Muslims also, Sikhs, Jains, everybody does. And Bhagavad Gita says, don't do it. How can a liberated soul agree to enjoy false pleasure? In the Padma Puran, it is said, Ramante yogino anante satyanande chidatam iti rama pade nasho param brahma vidhiyate. The mystics derive unlimited transcendental pleasure from the absolute truth. And therefore the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead, is also known as Ram. Ram, the meaning of word Ram is, name Ram is full of pleasure. Krishna means all attractive. Shiva means all auspicious. Ram means full of pleasure. And unlimited transcendental pleasure is there. We might not feel it right now because our senses are more geared towards material pleasure. So we don't find the pleasure in spiritual works. But there is unlimited transcendental pleasure. And that's also one of the reasons people don't take up spirituality easily, because then they think, oh, it's time for me to enjoy right now. I'm not going to take up bhakti. Bhakti is for old people. Actually, no. When we want to enjoy, the real enjoyment is in bhakti. We are looking for pleasure in wrong places, in wrong things that we do, and there is no pleasure. And Bhagavad Gita says, Adi Antavanta. Whatever has beginning, it will have an end. And the spiritual pleasure is Sanatan, eternal, no beginning, no end. But the whole world is running crazily after material pleasure. They're running crazy, blindly. In Srimad Bhagavatam also it is said, Nayam deho dehbhajam nriloke kashtan kaman arhate vidbhujaniye tapo divyam putrika yena sattam shuddhe dasmad brahma sokhyam tvanam. This is Rishabdev Maharaj told his sons. My dear sons, there is no reason to labor very hard for sense pleasure while in this human form of life. Why? Such pleasures are available to stool eaters or hogs. Rather, you should undergo penances in this life, by which your existence will be purified. And as a result, you will be able to enjoy unlimited transcendental bliss. Brahma Sokhyam Tva Anantam. And in Bhagavatam, such pleasures are available to stool eaters. How it says, Vidabhujaniye. So basically, we are just like animals or hogs or dogs when we go after these sense pleasures, material sense pleasure. But as we were discussing, everybody wants to try it out and see, no, I think I will find pleasure here. I'll be happy. Every living entity has its independence to desire, to learn on its own. But it's a tough lesson. Maya, when it teaches, it really teaches, gives us misery after misery. And we think, no, I'll be happy if I get this, or if I get that, I'll be happy. Again, misery. No, I'll be happy. I'll be happy if I get an admission in engineering or medical college, I'll be happy. But engineering or medical colleges, then we go and starts, at least in India, starts with ragging and then exams and then projects and then this or then that. Okay, a few years as we enjoy because money is coming from the parents. So we are free, we are out of the house, money is coming, we are with our friends, newfound friends, and newfound independence. But slowly, by that time, we come to the third year or final year. Oh, and now I got to prepare more because there are no jobs available. So now what? Prepare more. Or if we get a job, campus posting, then we are very happy. Oh, I'm getting this package, big package I got. We don't know what package we are getting, but because those people in the outside world, in the companies, private firms, they're not just going to give us money for not doing anything. They know how to squeeze us, squeeze the employees. In India, it is a normal standard to work for what, 50, 60 hours a week. And then we think, oh, I'm happy. No, they're squeezing us out. We are getting paid according to how much money we are making for the employer. That's all. And then I think, oh, I'll get married. I'll be happy. Then I'll have a house. I'll be happy. I have a car. I'll be happy. I'll show it off to others. I'll be happy. No. The scriptures tell that these are actually places of misery. The material world is place of misery, and all the happiness that we are looking for, it has a beginning and it has an end. And until we are striving for, we are working hard for new pleasure, new happiness, then we are considered a loser materially. But actually, there is no happiness. Therefore, those who are true yogis or learned transcendentalists are not attracted by sense pleasures, which are the causes of continuous material existence. So sense pleasures, which we run after in this life, cannot get all of them, cannot get fully happy. So some unfulfilled desires will be there, not just some, many, many, many. And that means continuation of material existence. Again, take birth, again get old, disease, trying to fulfill my desires, and then develop more desires, and again die. The more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material mysteries. And we think, I got this big package. Suppose in India, I got 20 lakh rupee package, or 30 lakh rupee package, 50 lakh rupee package. No, the real package is of 7 things, 7 items. Birth, old age, disease, and while going through all this, adhyatmic, adhivotik, adhidavik klesha, and then in the death. So where is the pleasure? But this is how Krishna has designed it. Why? So that we think of getting out of here, not try to remain here. But that's also our independence he has given. He doesn't force anybody. Devotees force. We force. No, Prabhu, come to the class. Mataji, do chanting, this, that. We force. Krishna doesn't force. We force because we know purpose of Krishna. And this is how, and this is why devotees are very dear to Krishna, that they're trying to bring back those entrapped souls who think they can be happy in the material world. But Krishna does not force. And this is what Prabhupada said. The more one is addicted to material pleasures, the more he is entrapped by material miseries. And they continue life after life after life. And even though what happens is we are in the material world, miserable, suffering. And when Krishna comes, or he sends his representatives, sadhus, devotees, sends his scriptures, what do people approach them for? Oh, Baba, this problem is there, please remove this problem and that problem. Instead of learning how to get out of this cycle and working on it, we're only concerned about our material problems and we want to get rid of them. It's just like if in a jail there are so many prisoners, and president of the country or prime minister of the country goes to that jail, and he's gone to that jail. Jailer superintendent is with him and taking the survey, going around. And president has thought, anybody who asks me that I want to be out of this jail, please help me, I'll help him get out. But the problem with the prisoners are, they're in so much of ignorance. This is true for all of us. We ask for what? If we are in third class prison cell, we ask, oh, can I be switched to second class prison or to the first class prison? Or can I have in my room, can I have air conditioner in my room so I can be in the prison, but let me live comfortably? Can you put at least a window in my prison so I can look outside? Please provide me nice bed in my prison. As for how to get out of the prison. But this ignorance is so much there. We don't want to ask. We don't ask. We don't even know what's outside. So we don't even want to get out. So we want, okay, Bhagwan, please give me this facility, that facility. But I'm okay here. I don't want to get out. Or those who have some knowledge, they want to go to higher planets, from third class prison house to second class or first class prison house. Let me enjoy. But in 9th chapter, Krishna says, Shine Punya, Marte Lokam Vishanti. After your bank balance of pious activities is over, you come back to this material, Marte Loka, this Prithvi, the earthly planet. So why waste time? But this is not what people know. They're not ready to understand or listen. In Christianity and in Islam also, they only talk about heaven, Jannat. It's not that Muhammad did not know or Jesus Christ did not know. There's a spiritual world. But their students were like that. At least, okay, do something pious, so you go to heaven or Jannat. Don't do any nonsense things. But even that has been put forth wrongly now. That's also a problem. But this is what Bhagavad Gita. I mean, people sometimes say Bhagavad Gita is it's just for beginners. We want to study Vedas. Bhagavad Gita is the essence of all the Vedic scriptures, coming directly from the mouth of Krishna. And in the essence, it is summary. He has given everything. So here, yehi samsaparsha bhoga means anything that has beginning or end. One who is intelligent, he doesn't involve in this. So when we think about in the material world, everything has a beginning and everything has an end. And all the pleasure that we are looking for, it's the same. So why? Why waste time here? Further, Krishna says, Shaknoti have ya sodum praka sharira vimokshana kama krodod bhavam avegam yah sa yukta san sukhi nara. Before giving up this present body, if one is able to tolerate the urges of the material senses and check the force of desire and anger, he is well situated and is happy in this world. So only he is well situated and happy. Otherwise, everybody is miserable. So if one wants to make steady progress on the path of self-realization, he must try to control the forces of the material senses. There are the forces of talks. We read that Vacho Vegam, Mansarkro the Vegam, Jigva Vegam. Forces of anger, forces of mind, forces of the stomach, forces of the genitals, and forces of the tongue. One who is able to control the forces of all these different senses and the mind is called Goswami or Swami. Such Goswamis live strictly controlled lives and forego altogether the forces of the senses. And forego altogether the forces of the senses. Senses will keep on putting the forces. The vague is always there. Want to do this, enjoy this. We think that we can. Material desires, when unsatiated, generate anger. And unsatiated means unfulfilled. They generate anger. Because I think I am the controller, I am the proprietor. Everything should work according to my desires. No, not going to work like that. And thus the mind, eyes, and chest become agitated. The mind, eyes, and chest becomes when somebody is angry, his mind is not in control, eyes become red, hard, red, and chest is thumping, is breathing heavily when somebody is angry. Therefore, one must practice to control them before one gives up this material body. So always there's a word of controlling the senses, controlling the senses. One who can do this is understood to be self-realized and is thus happy in the state of self-realization. It's a duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger. To try strenuously. See, Prabhupada is writing that too. So it's not just automatically it's going to happen. We still have to work on it. Of course, devotee's way of trying is to use everything in service of Krishna. To spend as much as time as possible in the service, whether we are chanting or doing some other physical service. And then slowly, slowly, all the desires of the senses are gone to enjoy myself. Desires will be to serve Krishna. And in the process, the soul or the person, he enjoys much more if he was working for his own sake. It's not that there is any lack of pleasure. There's plenty. But one has to just control the mind. That's all, in the beginning. In the beginning, what used to happen, okay, let me sit down and chant. But mind would go, no, let's do this first, let's do that first. Or it will be more fun over there, going to the movies, going to the mall and meeting with the friends and just watching TV or talking to friends. Unlimited amount of time. In the end, what? If we analyze, just wastage of time. Simply wastage. No positive thing came out of it. Then slowly, one realizes, I better sit down and chat. That's all. Whether in the beginning I like it or not, just sit down and chat. So this is what it's a duty of the transcendentalist to try strenuously to control desire and anger. Anger depends on the desire. If unfulfilled desire, the unsatiated desires, they become anger. And desires, when fulfilled, they become greed. And greed means new desires. And at some point, they will be unfulfilled. Then it will become anger. So it's a vicious cycle, actually. What about spiritual desire? If it is fulfilled, it will give lots of bliss. If it is not fulfilled, we try to work harder. It will give more bliss. And then later we can understand, even if it is unfulfilled according to my calculations, the desires were still fulfilled in the sense Krishna was happy. Just like Jatayu. When Ravan kidnapped Sita and he was taking her away, Jatayu confronted him. He said, you cannot take Sita away. I'm going to kill you. Jatayu knew very well he cannot stand in front of Ravan. Stand in front. But he said, no, I'm going to kill you. I'm not going to let you take Sita away. In the end, when he was killed, and Ravan still took Sita away. But this service of Jatayu, even though he knew he has no chance against Ravana, this service, this is what pleased Lord Ram. And this is a pleasure. The devotee. It pleased Lord Ram so much so that by his own hands he performed the last rites of Jatayu. Can you imagine? Supreme Lord is doing the last rites for a bird. He could not do it even for his own father, Dashrath Maharaj. But for Jatayu, he performed with his own hands. So this is service. Any little service that we can render, it pleases the Lord, and in the end, it pleases us. Just like once one devotee, Mataji, she was cooking bhoga for the Lord, and Prabhupada was there in that house or temple, wherever it was. And the bhoga plate, the pujari had already taken to the altar. But there was one chutney that Mataji had made, or she was still making when bhoga was put in the plate, and pujari forgot. So she ran with the bowl of chutney to the altar so that Lord can have that. Because once the bhoga plate is in the altar, then nobody goes in. That's a principle. So when she was running, she was in such a rush that she slipped and she fell down, and the chutney fell down. Chutney and the bowl. Prabhupada came to know, and she was very sorry, and she was crying, "Oh, I could not offer this to the Lord." Prabhupada came to know. Prabhupada said, "Chutney was already offered." Because the Lord saw you have made it for him, and you are running to offer it. He has already accepted. Don't worry. So even though materially we might think, oh, it was a failure. No, it was not a failure. So that's why a guru like Prabhupada is needed to guide us everywhere. But to understand, the Lord sees the bhav behind our service. He sees our effort. And he accepts it. And if he has accepted, there's nothing more to be done. We should feel happy, blissful. But since we are material people, we think materially everything, material consciousness. No, if it is not offered in the plate, then it is not complete. Further, Krishna says, "Yo anta sukho antara ramas tathantar jyotirevaya sa yogi brahma nirvanam brahma bhuto adhigacchati." One whose happiness is within, who's active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, is actually the perfect mystic. Within, not without, not outside. He is liberated in the Supreme, and ultimately he attains the Supreme. Now these some verses are there which Nirakarvadis, those who want to go to Brahmjyoti, they say everything is within, so we don't have to do anything outside. He is sitting as Paramatma within our heart, no doubt. But he is sitting as the Lord outside. In the temples, he appears in the deity form for us to be able to serve him personally with our senses, same material senses. But he has come as deity form to take our service, to give us pleasure, to purify us. In many types of service, somebody will say, "Oh, I'm not a Brahman, I cannot go on the altar and serve him." Well, okay. At least in ISKCON, there is no caste system. If one is qualified and trained as a Brahman, he can serve, no problem. But even though one cannot go and serve, like dressing the deity or doing the arti or other aspects of deity worship, that there are tons of services that one can render. One can clean the temple, one can clean the house. Even taking darshan is a service. There are tons of services. So it rejoices within doesn't mean no service outside. It doesn't mean, he never said that. This is what we interpret. One whose aim is inward is actually the perfect mystic. So aim is inward means the giving happiness to the soul, not to the body. And the purport Prabhupada says, unless one is able to relish happiness from within, how can one retire from the external engagements meant for deriving superficial happiness? So within means to give the happiness to the soul that the soul is really looking for. A liberated person enjoys happiness by factual experience, factual, based on facts, not just illusory experience. He can therefore sit silently at any place and enjoy the activities of life from within. Again, sit silently at any place. Yes, yogis do. They sit silently in the caves or on the mountains and they meditate on Paramatma. That's also spirituality, yes. But sit silently also means, as we studied in second chapter, that self-realized soul, how does he sit, how does he walk, how does he talk? So how does he sit means what does he do when his senses are not engaged? Means he's engaging his senses spiritually. Such a liberated person no longer desires external material happiness. And that is why the devotees or the transcendentalists, for them the material people are crazy, and for material people transcendentalists are crazy. Materialists think this, if there is no eat, drink and be merry, there is no life, there is no pleasure. And transcendentalists know why we waste our time in all this life of getting this, getting that, losing this, losing that. Get with the real happiness. Get on with the real happiness. So this state is called the Brahma Bhuta. That Krishna will explain that in 18th chapter. Brahma Bhuta means the spiritual stage, attaining which one is assured of going back to God and back to God. So attaining which, so means not even striving for material happiness. Anya abhilashita shunyam. Nectar of devotion. Anya abhilash. Anya means other than serving Krishna. No more desires. Nothing. Jnana karmadi anavrit. So that is the stage of completion, or transcendental stage. Of course, nectar of devotion, bhakti means engaging everything in service of Krishna. But at the same time, no material desires. Of course, the material, it's a detail when we get to nectar of devotion. It says anya abhilashita, not anya abhilasha. So abhilasha means this. Abhilashita means desiredness. So there's some subtle difference we discuss it, but understanding. Only desire is to serve Krishna. That's it. That is the thing. That gives a real pleasure. Labhante Brahm Nirvanam Rishya Kshina Kalmasha Chinna Dveda Yadatam Sarvabhuti Devata. Those who are beyond the dualities that arise from doubts, whose minds are engaged within, who are always busy working for the welfare of all living beings and who are free from all sins, achieve liberation in the Supreme. So only a person who is fully in Krishna consciousness can be said to be engaged in welfare work for all living entities. So that is the only person who can be said he is doing the welfare work, who is fully in Krishna consciousness. When a person is actually in the knowledge that Krishna is the fountainhead of everything, then when he acts in that spirit, he acts for everyone. And the real sufferings of humanity are due to forgetfulness of Krishna. The real sufferings are due to forgetfulness of Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor, and the supreme friend. Therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. To revive this consciousness. And everybody has this consciousness. It's not, Prabhupada did not say to put this consciousness inside. No, he said to revive. We have forgotten. It has been covered over. That's all. And when somebody helps the other person to revive this consciousness, this is the highest welfare work, because by following these teachings, these principles, a person can end his miseries completely, because in the material world he'll be happy, and then at the end of his life he'll go back to the spiritual. So that's why it's the highest one. It's not just giving food to somebody or giving medicines or money or something, some other way. We think we are doing the welfare work. Actually, that is only increasing one's life in the material world. One's stay in the material world is just prolonged. Why? Although we have to have compassion for all the suffering souls, but when suppose we help somebody by giving him food, normal, regular food, by feeding somebody, and people do that from compassion point of view, it's very important. Charity has to be done. But to understand the principle, suppose I go to a hospital and I see a person, I don't know what his disease is, and see a person who's very hungry and he's asking, give me some food, give me some, suppose give me some chola bhatura, I want to eat chola bhatura. And I run outside, get a chola bhatura pack to go and give that person chola bhatura. And he eats. But then the doctors come running, nurses come running, you stupid, what did you do? He had jaundice and his liver is bad, and we had asked him not to eat anything heavy. So we are giving him proper medications and prescribed food. So from my side, I think, oh, I did the charity. He was asking for food and I gave him, he asked for chola bhatura, I gave him chola bhatura. But did I do the right service? No, I aggravated his condition. So similarly, everybody is suffering, and some are materially, physically suffering in the material world. But that suffering has been prescribed to them by Yamaraj based on their karmas. It doesn't mean we don't help them. Again, compassion is a thing that devotees have. They want to serve them, they want to help. So the real help would be to help him spiritually. So no more karma. So he doesn't suffer for all these karma. So yes, you want to give them food, but give them prashad. Food that is offered to the Lord, that's all. So that will help him. Maybe not now, maybe few lifetimes later. But whatever spiritual activity, even honoring prashadam, eating prashadam is also spiritual activity. So that will help him in the long run. And suppose somebody was assigned a suffering, a sentence of say 20 years. So his sentence of 20 years is still there. And if we help him, say for a few months, but then his suffering is prolonged. He still has to suffer for 20 years. That is not gone. It can only go away by spiritual practices. So that's right. Real welfare worker is a devotee. But yes, people are suffering so much in ignorance, they don't understand. So therefore, to act to revive this consciousness within the entire human society is the highest welfare work. Not just for Hindus, not just for Indians, entire human society. One cannot be engaged in such first-class welfare work without being liberated in the Supreme. So without being liberated, without being in that position. But also if I'm not liberated, but I am helping others, then I get the mercy of Krishna and the Acharyas, that helps me make progress also. A Krishna conscious person has no doubt about the supremacy of Krishna. He has no doubt because he's completely freed from all sins. This is a state of divine love. We all talk about love, this love and that love. Divine love means being in Krishna consciousness. A person engaged only in ministering to the physical welfare of human society cannot factually help anyone. Temporary relief of the external body and the mind is not satisfactory. The real cause of one's difficulties in the hard struggle for life may be found in one's forgetfulness of his relationship with the Supreme Lord. When a man is fully conscious of his relationship with Krishna, he is actually a liberated soul, although he may be in the material tabernacle, material engagement, so completely involved materially. So this is the real welfare work, to help somebody grow spiritual. For that, first we have to know, and this is what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Janma sarthak kari kar parupakar, Bharat bhumita manusha janma haila jahar. See, Manusha Jan, Bharat, one was born as a human being in the land of India, he has to first make his life perfect and then help others. So with whatever little knowledge, whatever little experience we have, realizations we have, we help others, then Krishna helps us to make more progress. And then we help more and help others more. Then that's the whole crux of spiritual life. Okay, I guess I can stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Thanks, Prabhuji. Wonderful.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Enjoyed.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for keeping us on this path of gaining spiritual wisdom and guiding us every day, every weekend.
Well, I'm trying so that I also get helped. Chalo, you all have a say.
Sorry.
Yes, Prabhu.
My question था, during one of the discourses on online about इसकी गीता का कुछ मैं सुन रहा था. So I was wondering, English में था वो, and they used a term, servant of God. Now, मेरे दिमाग में ये आया उस टाइम, और मैं सुनता भी हूँ आजकल क्योंकि बहुत डिस्कशन चलती है कि people are encouraged to use Sanskrit or at least Hindi as a medium, क्योंकि संस्कृत खास करके more emphasis on Sanskrit, because when I was learning Sanskrit or still learning, one of the things during the classes they taught was not the translation कि इसका meaning क्या है, वो बोलते हैं इसका भाव क्या है. So the emphasis was on a bhav. So when you say servant, should servant not be replaced with the das? Das has more bhav in it, and it conveys the correct meaning rather than a servant.
But how do you translate that in English?
Yeah, यही challenge है. यही मेरा challenge है कि servant, क्योंकि ये जो आजकल की जो woke जनता है ना, उनको हमको समझ आता है कि आप क्या कह रहे हैं, because we understand the भाव दिमाग में एकदम क्लिक करता है, बट उनको समझ नहीं आता, उनको तो दास ही समझ नहीं आएगा. उनको सर्वेंट से दास पे लाने के लिए मेरे ख्याल में there's a continuity break. So how do you explain them?
Yeah, so that's the thing. How would English people, English learning, English speaking people would know what is das? So servant comes close.
Yes, it's pretty close, but it means it. दास में एक भक्त इंक्लूड हो जाता है, सर्वेंट में भक्ति नहीं आती है, जो मेरे को लगता है कि so that element goes missing.
There is no other word.
And there are many such words, right? उसमें काफी अगर आप सुनो तो वो एक it gives a very restrictive message in English. So anyway,
जहाँ पे भी सर्वेंट आए वहाँ पे दास यूज करना शुरू करते हैं.
Yeah, but then English speaking people won't understand what is this.
थोड़ा टाइम बाद अपने आप समझ में आ जाएगा हमको भी.
See what that is why वो एक there's a gentleman in USA by the name of Rajiv Malhotra. उनकी एक book है non-translatables, Sanskrit non-translatables, and he's emphasizing, and he wants that the Sanskrit word should be included in Cambridge dictionary as is, without any translation. जैसे कर्मा लोग काफी word use करते हैं. So although it's not used in a right meaning, the right way, but the emphasis should be on trying to push to use these words in originality, ताकि एक आम भाषा में use हो English के अंदर. So,
yeah, but then again, even if you use das in English language, people have to understand what it means.
Yeah. So
how do we explain them?
Yeah, that can be explained by with few sentences. But एक word के अंदर meaning servant का जो है, उसको अगर दास में convert करना है, तो you'll have to explain maybe a paragraph. Then maybe they'll understand कि क्या मतलब है. It's a little more exhaustive process. But,
yeah. Just like British, when they were in India, they saw Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra, which just happened, right, in Jagannath Puri. And they came up with this word, Juggernaut. It comes from Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra. And Juggernaut means a force that cannot be stopped. Because the Rath cannot be stopped by just anybody. They came up with this word Juggernaut. It comes from Jagannath. But now it just gone out of the meaning, okay, that force, some force that cannot be stopped, it cannot hold it. Yes, somebody tries to find out the real meaning, he will get into it. Otherwise, it becomes a colloquial use. That's it.
धन्यवाद प्रभु जी।
Thank you. You all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Ram.
Hare Krishna.